But here we are at the end, State of Florida versus Greg Malarik. Sherri Malarik, devoted mother, loving wife, dedicated sailor. She had it all going for her, and she managed everything in her life. She was happy. Her family was happy. She had the perfect little family life until September 21st, 2001. Just about 1 month prior, actually a month and 1 day prior to her death, she writes, I have to do it so I can see it. She writes, Greg, I'm so sorry that things have become so complicated, but I do want you to know that my love for you continues to grow. I've been thinking about the words we spoke and promises we made a lot lately, and I just want you to know that I still cherish, love, honor, and obey in good times and in bad, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to have and to hold from this day forward, forsaking all others until death do us part. Forgive me for the mistakes I have made and for hurting you. You are still the most wonderful man I've ever known. I love you with all of my heart, mind, and soul, more than anything. Pause. 1 month, 1 day prior to her death. Now, what's complicated, she's talking about, she started things to become so complicated. What would be complicated is a divorce. This is a blended family with 5 children. They own a house, they own cars, they have investment accounts, they have retirement accounts, they have property. And a divorce would mean a property settlement, child custody and visitation, child support. It's everything that would be messy, complicated, drawn out, and expensive. But she was very prophetic when she said, to have and to hold from this day forward, forsaking all others until death do us part. And that's what the defendant wanted. He wanted the easy way out. He wanted to go back to the way it was when she was deployed, because she was out of the picture. He could come and go as he wanted. He had his girlfriend that he could sneak in the house. He could go to his lodge meetings, to his Mason meetings, and not hear any static from his wife. He didn't have to put up with her religious stuff, and he was in control of everything. But now she's back, and she's bothering him about the Mason stuff. She's apparently bothering him about their marriage. They go to Biloxi, and all they do is argue. He's having an affair, so he's sleeping with someone else. She's not interested in sleeping with his wife. The easy way out would be to get rid of her, and that's what he said to Jennifer. Now, he's got another reason. In fact, he's got 250,000 reasons. SGLI pays $250,000 upon the death of a service member, which, today with inflation isn't that much money, but 22 years ago, $250,000 was a lot. This may not have been the primary motivation, but it was certainly an added benefit. And in fact, this is in the evidence, he received $259,047.95. And with that, he purchased a truck, a car, 2 boats, and still would have had $100,000-ish or so left over. All of that is a motive. Primary motive, of course, being he wanted to go back to the way it was while Sherri was gone. She's killed with a .25 caliber firearm. Jacob and Greg remember a small black gun that fit in the palm of their hand. The dad showed it to him and said, "I got it for your mother," which really he did get it for their mother. It fit in the palm of their hand. Jennifer remembers getting rid of a gun that fit in the palm of her hand. And the defendant told Brian Petzel that he's got a semi-automatic firearm that fits in the palm of his hand, and demonstrated it to Brian Petzel that fit right in the palm of his hand. And now Brian Petzel, 25 caliber, Brian Petzel says he told me that the 25 caliber firearm worked great. Now, about Brian Petzel. When he testified, it's obvious that he is trying really hard to, 1, remember, and 2, be fair. to the defendant and to Sherri and to the family. He wants to be right with his testimony. He wants to be accurate and correct. He knows for sure that they were talking about small caliber firearms. He knows for sure that that had to be a 25 or a 32 caliber. And at the end of the day, whether you go back and forth about whether it was Buddy that said it first or whether he said it first, his memory of the conversation was 25 caliber. And that's what fits with the evidence in the case. 25 caliber firearm, which would be small enough to fit in the palm of Jacob's hand, in the palm of Greg's hand, in the palm of Jennifer's hand, and in the palm of the defendant's hand. Now, there were 2 shots. She's shot twice in the head. There's 1 shell casing. They looked everywhere for the shell casing. There was only 1 recovered. They tore the van apart. It's not in the van. The defendant looked everywhere too. And if you remember, Greg says, I got a metal detector for my birthday, and I didn't get to use it first. My dad was using it first. And he was using it in the same spot where the van was, and then he was digging around in that place. Now, Greg remembers receiving this, his birthday's at the beginning of November. Sherri's killed at the end of September. He remembers getting the metal detector before his birthday. He remembers his dad giving it to him before his birthday. And whether he receives it for his birthday in 2001 or 2002, it doesn't matter, because in 2002, Greg Malarik is still under suspicion for murder. Greg Malarik knows he's still under suspicion for murder. He's under suspicion for murder for 20 years. But whether it's 2001 or 2002, little Greg Malarik has a specific memory of getting this metal detector from his dad, who used it before him, in the same place where the van was parked the night that Sherri disappeared. That's the means. She's killed with a 25 caliber firearm. He's got the motive to kill her. He's got the means to do it with the 25 caliber firearm. So let's talk about opportunity. He's got a convenient and private location to do this. Backyard, you live in Cantonment. The neighbors are not super close. It's not like you live downtown. He's got a private, convenient, private location. He's got easy access to Sherri. They live together. There's no witnesses out there, or the witnesses that are out there he can control. He can control the children. He can control Jennifer Spohn. Jennifer Spohn told you she did everything that he said, because that's just what she did. She is a controlled woman, a beat down woman by the man that provides things for her. She never really questioned him. She always did what he said. And then he properly stages everything to give himself deniability. This is how he creates the opportunity for himself. So let's break all this down. Here's the van. This is the van, by the way, that's malfunctioning. There's something wrong with the van. It's overheating. It's broken. That comes from the defendant. That comes from the defendant. He told Buddy Neesmith on the day that Sherri goes missing, my van was overheating, so I took it to the Amico place. And then he says, I took it home and I was in the backyard working on it. He told Buddy Neesmith these things. So he puts himself with this van in the backyard, the van with problems. This is Cantonment. The Winn-Dixie is up here. This is Highway 29, Kingsfield Road, Riddle Road, the neighborhood is over here. The point is, this is a lot of green space out here, okay? This is the property. Riddle Road here, the defendant's house here. You know, they're spread out. Their neighbors they're not right on top of their neighbors. The boys drew on the diagrams that are in evidence. They put the van next to the shed, the other structure that's on the property, this giant oak tree that's in the middle. There's the fences that run down the front of the property, which you can see from other angles. But that's the layout, right? He's got space. This is the back of the house. This is the back door that Sherri would have walked out. This is the gate that people park next to, and that's the gate. This end of the house, according to Jacob, is where the master bedroom is. The far, I guess that's going to be north end of the house. And all of this is on the ground level. There's the doorknob to the door, so all of this is ground level. You don't have to climb over anything. You don't have to climb up or down. I mean, it's all right there. So Winn-Dixie, up there on Highway 29, is 2.5 miles away. If you're driving 25 miles an hour, that takes 6 minutes. The speed limit is 35 to 45 miles an hour. There's a couple of traffic lights. Coming back, if you're driving 25 miles an hour, that takes 6 minutes. But the speed limit is 35 to 45 miles an hour. The defendant instructed Jennifer, don't speed. At the same time, she's not going to drive 25 miles an hour down Highway 29. I submit to you that this trip, either to and from Winn-Dixie, is not going to take 6 minutes. But, you know, erring on the side of caution, 25 miles an hour takes 6 minutes. Now here is the receipts from the Amico place. They were provided under subpoena. Mr. Avery just doing what he's instructed to do by the court. He gets a subpoena. He provides all the records that he has for this particular van, and the only times that this van he saw was I think that's August 31st and 2001 and December 1999. Paid for September the 4th, 2001. That's the last time the van made it inside the shop. The defendant said, I went to the Amico on the way home from work, but there's no record that supports that. The defendant's put himself there, and there's no record that supports that. So let's talk about the timeline. Friday, September 21st. Between 6:30 and 7, Sherri brings the boys home from soccer. Sherri brings the boys home from soccer, or the defendant brings the boys home from soccer. Either way, the boys come home from soccer, the van goes in the backyard, and so does the defendant. Okay? It doesn't really matter who brought them home. Boys now remember it being Sherri. If they told the officers back then that it was their dad, maybe it was their dad. But they all come home. They all agree that the defendant goes to the backyard and the van goes to the backyard, or is in the backyard. Between 7 and 7:30, or about 7:30ish, the kids say that mom goes out to talk to dad. And we're estimating this time because of the way that the lighting is outside. Jennifer Spohn brings the lawnmower to the house, we're going to say between 8 and 9 o'clock. And I'll get to that in a minute. Now, sunset, it's getting dark outside. Twilight ends at 7:11 p.m. according to the chart, which is in evidence. You can look at it. These are the times. So twilight will have just ended. It's just now gotten dark at 7:11 p.m. The children remember her going outside and it being dark. So this is when it happens. I submit to you that it happens when she goes out into the backyard. So what happens after that? The defendant says at 8 o'clock he comes in. The kids say when he comes in, he goes back to his room, shuts the door, and they hear the shower come on. The defendant is the one that puts the 8 o'clock timestamp on it, okay? He's taking a shower. Jennifer is filling in the context of what happens next. We know that he's pretending to take a shower. He's closed the door. The children are not going to disturb him. And he leaves. He runs back outside, gets the van, takes it up to Winn-Dixie. Jennifer Spohn pulls up. He's already there. He rolls right into her car. She pulls off and comes back. If they're driving 25 miles an hour, that only takes 6 minutes. But I submit to you, they're not driving 25 miles an hour. That whole thing can happen in less than 10 minutes. Okay? He comes back in the house, and then Jennifer runs to the front door, knocks on the front door, and they do the whole lawnmower thing. Which, incidentally, when Greg takes the lawnmower back to the shed, the van's not in the backyard. We know the van's not in the backyard. The van's up at Winn-Dixie. Okay? After that, 10 o'clock, the defendant says he puts the kids to bed. He starts making phone calls, which we'll go through in a few minutes. The next morning, Jennifer has gotten up. She's got to get rid of the stuff, so she goes and does that. Contact is made with Sherri's sister, and Jeff starts looking for her, and he finds her at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, also in there, if you'll remember, Lisa Leak talked about playing Barbies with Tara. When Sherri is killed, the children only know that she died. The children are told by Tina that Mommy's in heaven, which is, probably pretty reasonable, not to try to disturb children of this age, telling them that their mother's been shot and killed, okay? But the pop sound was not significant to Lisa at that time. It's not till later, when the children are interviewed again in 2002 and in the subsequent years, she reports the pop sound. The pop sound doesn't make any sense until she knows that there's been a shooting, okay? But she says that happens while she's up in the front room playing Barbies with Tara. The boys are over there playing video games, and by the way, children are not the best timekeepers. Everyone would agree with that. Children are terrible timekeepers, especially if they're playing Barbies and video games. But what they are when they're playing Barbies and video games is occupied and busy and engaged. And there's probably nothing that's going to stop them from playing Barbies and video games, except a parent that's going to tell them to do something. So they're happy and busy, which gives the defendant the perfect opportunity to pretend like he's taking a shower and go handle this business. The defendant said that she left the house between 7 and 7:30 p.m., which would fit with what the children said as far as when she went outside. The defendant puts that on her, between 7 and 7:30 p.m. And again, like I said, before 5:30, he'd taken the van to the Amico. So this is the layout, the landscape of the time and how it all breaks down. It's really not that complicated. And there's plenty of perfect opportunity for the defendant to do this murder and to dispose of Sherri. So let's talk about the backyard. He's working on the van. He summons her out to the backyard. The children remember her saying, "I want to go outside and talk to your dad." A couple of them remember him popping his head in and saying, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And she says, "I'm going to go outside and talk to your dad." Anyway, they all know that they all know that she's going out there to talk to him. And she goes willingly, and she takes nothing with her. Her military ID is found a day or two later by Tina Leak on the dresser in the bedroom. This ID expires in March of 2000 and I can't see y'all because my glasses, but this is an evidence. And then you have the certified business record that tells you that this is the only ID. There is no other ID. This isn't a duplicate or a lost copy or whatever. This is the only one that she has. This is a valid ID. So that's her ID, and she left it on the dresser. The other thing is Buddy Neesmith finds the purse with the wallet and the credit cards in the bedroom. She doesn't take anything with her. The children said she usually carries a backpack around, which makes sense because she's herding 5 kids around and moms always have the bag that has everything in it. She doesn't take the bag with her, doesn't take her purse with her. She's really just going out in the backyard to talk to the defendant. Now this, if you hear nothing else that I say this morning, listen to this, because this right here is the key to the whole case. She's killed in the front passenger seat of that van. So every theory that you want to try to process, every possible scenario of how this could have gone down, you have to filter through this fact. Because there is no other place that she was killed. There's no way that she's killed outside the van and put in the passenger seat. There's no way she's killed in the driver's seat of the van and put in the passenger seat. She's not killed in the back seat and put in the passenger seat. And here's why. She's repositioned onto the floorboard. Look at her. This is how I find her crunched up in the front floorboard of the passenger side. Look where her feet are. Her feet are positioned as if she was sitting in that seat. Okay? And once you're killed, literally the term dead weight, that's what this means. There's no moving. She is not going to assist in moving anything. She's going to fold up and be exactly as she was when she was killed. And Dr. Farmer told you, these shots were both immediately fatal and immediately incapacitating. So she's not going to move once she's shot. Her foot is positioned as if she's sitting in the seat, and then she's twisted and turned. Her leg is crunched up underneath her as if she's been twisted on top of it from a sitting position in the front seat. And there she is. They pushed her down, or he's pushed her down into the floorboard. Driver's side of the car, nothing. Pristine. I mean, except for some dirt, but no blood. There's no blood on the driver's side of the car. It's very clean. Nothing on this side of the car. Blood all over the passenger side of the car. On the passenger door, door handles, seats, seat belts. This is a picture, not a picture, but this is from the video. I'm going to do some of these as I talk about stuff. You can look at it in that crime scene video at the 7-minute mark. There's blood on the passenger seat, but not on the driver's seat. This is the passenger armrest. Passenger armrest, which you can tell because here's the CB radio thing. Stuff that's down in the floorboard between the two seats, the front seat and the passenger seat. Now we know that she shot from left to right. She's got an entry wound, left side of her head, above and behind her left ear. She has another entry wound near the back of her head, near the center line of the back of her head. This was A on the medical examiner's diagram. And then you have B and C. C is another entry wound, and B is the exit wound. And we know this because of the firearms analysis and the projectiles. There's the one, and there's A. A is going to be on the left side of her head. This was the diagram by the medical examiner. Entry, entry, and exit. But we know that she's definitely in the passenger seat of the van because this exit comes out and hits the headliner, or the right above the door frame of the passenger side of the car. The other projectile doesn't come out. The full bullet is in her, it's recovered from inside her head, which is right here. This is the full bullet. This is what Ryan Coffey was talking about. This right here is a 25 caliber bullet. Complete. It's deformed because it's been fired and traveled through the body, but that is one bullet. And then this is one bullet too, 25 caliber. This piece came out of the back of her head, and then this piece fell out of the headliner or came out of the vehicle, and there's an obvious defect above the passenger door. So she's definitely killed in the passenger seat of the van. Now, this is why it's important. How does she get in the passenger seat of the van? Like I just told you a few minutes ago, she has to get in the passenger seat of the van herself because she's not put there after she's killed. When does she get in the passenger seat of the van? I submit to you, she gets into the passenger seat of the van when she's in her own backyard, on her own property. You know why? Because who is going to make her get in the back seat? Who is going to make her get into the passenger seat? Why would she get into the passenger seat? First of all, if the defendant is to be believed, she's going to get in the driver's seat she's going to get in the driver's seat with no purse, no money, no nothing, and go to buy milk, allegedly. Or she goes back there to talk to him, and for whatever reason, he convinces her to get in the car. Maybe he's talking about the van and how it works. Well, why don't you scoot over, honey, and let me show you this. She would do that for him. She would move over to the passenger seat for him. Who else is she going to voluntarily move over into the passenger seat for? Now, the defense is going to get up here at some point this morning and suggest to you that Jennifer Spohn is the one that did this. And again, Sherri has to be in the passenger seat of the van. When is she going to get in the passenger seat for Jennifer Spohn? And why would she ever get in the passenger seat for Jennifer Spohn? Consider that. Maximum time that it takes to do this, between 10 and 15 minutes. Like I've just told you, how long it takes to get up to Winn-Dixie, how long it takes to get back. It doesn't take 2 seconds to shoot somebody. He puts her down in the seat. He does some cleanup, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then immediately when Jennifer pulls up at Winn-Dixie, He gets in her car and they come back. That whole thing can be accomplished in 15 minutes. So anywhere in this timeline, between the time that Sherri goes outside and the time he starts making phone calls, if there's 15 minutes, then this could happen. So here we are. Let's just streamline it a little bit. Sherri goes outside sometime between 7 and 7:30. It's either almost dark or it is dark. Remember, Lisa hears the pop sound from outside. The defendant says he comes in at 8 o'clock. And the best way to get out of this house, the kids are distracted, so that's good. He told Jennifer later that the way he did it was to go out the window. Turns the shower on, bangs the shower, goes out there, gets the van, meets her. When Dixie comes back, he does the whole thing in reverse, hops in the shower real quick, and then hops out to answer the door for her. Tells her to wait a minute because he's got to go back there and do that. But then answers the door for her with the kids. Now, we're going to get to the phone records in a minute, but there are these phone calls that are also made. 8 o'clock, or 7:59, and at 8 o'clock he calls Charles Schwab, which is interesting, right? Charles Schwab, you're killing your wife, and you call Charles Schwab. And then 47 minutes, which this is a 4-minute call here, so I guess 43 minutes later, he calls Charles Schwab again. And that 43-minute window, that's the 43-minute window where this happens. Just after 8 o'clock when he comes in, goes to his room, out the window, meets Jennifer, comes back, does the whole thing in reverse. The kids don't know any different. They ask, where's Mama? He says she went to buy milk. And they don't question that. So let's talk about Winn-Dixie. The Winn-Dixie receipt. There is a purchase from the same Winn-Dixie on September 17th, 4 days before the murder, with a credit card that was researched to be a credit card used in Pensacola during Sherri's deployment, which means if she's in Greece, she's not in Pensacola buying stuff with the credit card. This is Greg's credit card, and it's for some nominal amount. But the point is, he's at the Winn-Dixie buying stuff 4 days before this. This is also taken from the video. You'll have to look at this because it's so much easier to see on the video than it is from these still shots. But this bag right here, this is not a Winn-Dixie bag. This is an Albertsons bag. And like Jacob told you, Mama shops at the commissary and Albertsons. Other people mentioned she shops at Albertsons, not the Winn-Dixie. And so I'm trying to get it here so you can see the Albertsons. And by the way, these keys, just kind of pausing where I'm at right here to mention the keys. During Smeester's testimony, Crawford tried to, actually I think he got Smeester to agree that those were tested for latency but not DNA. If you read the DNA report that's in evidence with the defense sticker on it, you'll see that Lisa Hobgood did test the keys. There was not enough DNA on there to get any kind of result. But the keys were tested, just by the way. All right, so the Albertsons bag, trying again to get Albertsons, but she stops at Albertsons. Now, this is the crime scene video. We're not looking at the van here, we're looking at the parking lot. If you look here, we are parked at the far north end of the parking lot. We've got to look at the license plate for a minute while we zoom in, but we're going to zoom out in a second. We're all the way over here in the far end of the parking lot, away from the doors of the store. And if you walk around here, when you wrap around, they'll see there's maybe five parking spots before the back end. And then when you turn all the way around, this is about 7 or 8 parking spots down the lane. And not only that, it's not even properly parked. It's pulled in over the parking spot. Okay? Now, look at that. So if you counted all of these, it's 7 or 8 down the row. And not only that, the Demeanor Dixie's way over here, and this van is parked past the end of the shopping center. Okay? So the mom that's running to the store for some milk, number one, is not going to park in the back 40 when she's got 7 kids between the ages of 3 and 11 at home with her husband, who's supposedly still in the backyard, working on the van that she drove up to Winn-Dixie. She's not going to do that. She's not going to park way out there if she's just running to the store to get milk. And she's also not going to park like she was in a hurry. And if she is in a hurry, she's not going to park way out there and be in a hurry to go buy milk. You see what I'm saying? So that doesn't make any sense. The defendant's suggestion of that doesn't make any sense. And if that's the defense, that doesn't make any sense either. So let's look at this van one more time. This is just a walk around of the van. This is what you would see if you're standing in the parking lot and you don't know any different, you don't know anything about this case, you have no idea what happened, you're just walking by the van, you see a van. Nothing remarkable about the van until you get up close to it. But once you're inside the van and you know that this has happened, there's blood all on the door, there's blood on this window, and it's smeared. And it's smeared all down here, and this is because it was wiped. So whoever did this pushed her down into the floorboard of the seat, parked this van out in the back 40 like I just said because it is more remote, and then cleans before they take it up there, cleans the windows so as not to draw attention to it. There's paper towels in the car, which by the way were also tested for DNA, and she of course is on it because she's all over the car. But there was not enough DNA there to test otherwise. Now, here's the other thing about that. If the defendant's DNA were on it, what would that tell us? That the paper towels that he owned were in his car. Because this is his car too. He gets in and out of the car. His DNA is going to be in the car. The paper towel is laying over top of the blood, so you know that that happened after she was killed. So there was a cleanup operation as part of this. And there you can see the smears again. So it's a cleanup. Why is that important? Because it's not random. If this were a random act of violence, you wouldn't be parked out way far in the parking lot. You wouldn't be parked like that. If it's a random act of violence, it's going to be by surprise. It's going to be someone sneaking up on her by surprise in a place where she would be naturally, which is not going to be out in the back 40 without her pocketbook, okay? And if it's a random act of violence, they're not going to take time to clean it up. It's also not a robbery. How do we know it's not a robbery? Well, I mean, they push her down. He pushes her down in the floorboard, and she's wearing a necklace, a gold necklace. So if this motivation is a robbery, the motivation for this killing is a robbery, you take the gold necklace. She didn't have her purse either, so, you know, there's nothing to take there. Also, the CB radio. So there's a CB antenna there, but there's no CB radio in the car because it was removed to be staged to look like a robbery. He just made the mistake in that he didn't take the necklace. He took the rings, said he put the rings in the bag. No evidence she had her rings on. So her rings are missing. She's up there without her purse or her ID. She's still wearing her necklace, but the CB radio is missing from the car, which is consistent with his story that he's trying to make it look like a robbery. So you have planning, you have staging, and now we got to move on to feigning, because now you have to keep acting. You have to keep this act up. This has got to go on for a while. You got to maintain this, okay? So there's the phone calls. And here's the records of the phone calls. On the 21st, starting at 7:59 p.m., he calls Charles Schwab. I can't even say that. Charles Schwab, 3 times. And then we move on to Navy Federal Credit Union is the next place that he calls. And that, by the way, that was at 9:14. So if she left the house at 7:30 to go to the store to buy milk, it's 9:14, she's not back yet, and he's calling Navy Federal Credit Union. Well, the kids, you know, are not calling Navy Federal Credit Union. So he's the one calling Navy Federal Credit Union. Next thing you know, he calls Tina Leak at 11:06. A number we don't know. Then he calls the Friends. Then he calls the Sheriff's Office, Florida Highway Patrol, PPD, all the hospitals. Tina again calls his mama, and later on, at the very end of the thing, he calls Walmart. So It looks good. If you're the worried husband, it looks good. You're making all the right calls. Okay. So, next morning, there's this one call. We don't know. We were not able to confirm it. Sneester doesn't think it's an Albertsons because this is an incoming call for 3 minutes at 3:14 in the morning. Defendant didn't call whoever this is. Whoever this is calls him for 3 minutes, and he was never able to verify who that was. And you know, in the world of today's technology, that's really remarkable. But 22 years ago, when we're still using payphones and rotary dial phones, they couldn't verify that phone number. They tried though, they just couldn't do it. Mama calls, Tina calls, he calls, PPD, FHP, Shore Patrol, hospitals, more hospitals, sheriff's office, Tina, and then Tina's parents. Sherri's parents. Tina and Sherri's parents. And the jail. 32 phone calls that he places in that time frame. That looks good. So Tina, when he calls Tina, first he says he doesn't know where she went. Then Jeff said that he heard him say that she went to the store, but he didn't come home because they're listening together. Tina offers. This is at 11 something at night. After the khaki ball, she's gone home. Tina says, "Oh my goodness, hey, I'll come take care of the kids while you go look," because the worried husband, you would think, would want to go look. And if she's gone to the store in this minivan that has mechanical problems, you would think he'd want to go look. She's offering to handle that child issue for him. He's like, "No, the kids are asleep." Well, she could either get the kids or she could come sit with them. Either way, the kids would be supervised and he could take care of that. But no, he declines. Calls Heidi Brown, or Epler at the time, said that she went to Walmart. She was sure that he said that Sherri went to Walmart. Told somebody else that she went to the store. Doesn't tell anybody else that she went to Walmart. And then the next morning, Jeff heard him suggest maybe she covered a watch. So now we're just coming up with scenarios. He makes 6 calls to law enforcement. On the night of September 21st, he calls the sheriff's office, FHP, and PPD in that order. Okay? At 11:18, the
City Police, Jackie.
Hi, my name is Gregory Malarik. My wife is slowly getting back. I was wondering if you had any kind of accident reports this evening.
Not with injuries, no. Where would she be coming from?
I have no idea. She left and she didn't say where she was going, so she went to the store.
We haven't had anything with injuries. You may want to try calling FHP or the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, I called the Sheriff's Department. They gave me your number.
Okay, we haven't had anything with injuries. They usually don't tell us if anybody's been who's actually involved in any of the accidents. So we haven't had any since I've been here that have been with injuries.
Okay, so what's my next step now?
I'm not really sure. Unless you try calling, if you're that concerned, calling the hospitals or anything like that. I'm not sure what the next process would be.
Okay.
The next one, if she doesn't come home anytime, I guess whenever you feel it's absolutely necessary, we can send an officer out, or depending on what your address is, to fill out a report. Okay. What's your address? And I'll tell you what agency you need to take care of it.
501 Middle Road.
Can you spell that?
RIDLE.
Right, at the cantonment. So, what you need to do is, if you want to file a report, you need to call the Sheriff's Department, because you're actually in their jurisdiction.
That's a business first.
Okay, go ahead. Hang on. Step over. Okay, that will be the next step.
All right, thank you very much.
So, 7 hours later, Sherri's not back yet. It's now Saturday morning, 6 something in the morning. He was told by PPD, if she's not back, you need to call to report, do a missing persons report. You need to call the agency in your jurisdiction. You need to call the sheriff's office. But who's he call at 6 o'clock in the morning? PPD. The worried husband that really wants to make sure that he's doing all the right things is going to follow the instructions of the people that can help him. He calls all these law enforcement agencies because he wants help. So they tell him what he needs to do, and that's not what he does. You need to call the sheriff's office to report her missing. So he calls PPD again. Then he calls FHP. And then he calls the sheriff's office, but not before he calls other people. So if you go back and listen to all of these calls, the recordings that he makes to law enforcement, it's always about an accident. He's always calling, hey, have you had any accidents? He's checking on accidents. But, you know, if his story is to be believed, he sent her out to the store or allowed her to go to the store in this van that is malfunctioning. Something's wrong with the van, which is why he even started this whole thing about being in the backyard to begin with. But he never asks about a breakdown or a malfunctioning van. Anybody broken down, stranded. Not about that, it's about an accident. Tina lives in Pace, which is in Santa Rosa County. He never calls Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. Calls all the hospitals and the jail after he gets that idea from the dispatcher. And like I just said a minute ago, PPD said to call the sheriff's office, and that's not what he did. So the takeaway from all this is if you're logically thinking like a worried husband, yes, you're going to call law enforcement. But you're also going to follow the instructions of law enforcement. And the phone calls that you make and the order that you make them are going to make some kind of sense like that, because otherwise you just look like someone who's trying to look like they're trying hard. And that's what he did. He's done quantity over quality. He's made it look like he's done everything he can possibly do, but really he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything that would help him achieve his goal of finding his wife, has not taken advantage of offers that are made to him to help him find his wife, but he has effectively made it look like he's trying to find his wife. All right, so his demeanor. He never asked anybody what happened. Jeff, when he gets to the Winn-Dixie, he never asked Jeff about how he finds her. The worried husband. And this is a homicide. This is death by the hands of another. This is foul play. This is going to be something critical. Never asked Jeff about her condition or how he found her. Kathy Johnson, the deputy, when she comes to do the notification, doesn't ask anything about the circumstances of it. Robbie Leverett, same thing. Buddy Neesmith, same thing. Never asks about anything related to how she was found. I submit to you, he doesn't have to because he already knows. He won't make eye contact with anybody. He won't participate in the funeral plans. He won't allow the children to participate in any of the functions afterwards, trying to, post posters and look for their mom. Won't allow the children to be interviewed by law enforcement. Buddy Neesmith had to go the subpoena route to get to them. He has the family meeting and explicitly tells the children that family business is family business, and Jacob had a clear memory of that and told you about that when he testified. He gets rid of all of her stuff within a couple of days. Tina finds out that she's getting rid of her stuff and she's upset, because this is her sister and, any memory of her is being wiped out of the house. And then he's been watching crime shows, true crime shows, which he never took any interest in before Sherri left to go to Greece. While she's in Greece, he's watching true crime shows and recording them. Incidentally, the shadow box that Tina brought up is a commemorative military gift. It's a big deal. She borrowed it from him and he never wanted it back. To this day, he's never gotten it back. Nothing sentimental about his wife or her memory. So, first degree premeditated murder. This is what I have to prove. 1, that Sherri Malarik is dead. Everyone agrees that Sherri Malarik. 2, it was caused by the criminal act of the defendant. And 3, it was by premeditated design. Conscious decision to kill, present in the mind at the time the act is committed. It doesn't have to be a set amount of time, long enough to allow reflection. There's so much planning in this case. This is your quintessential premeditation case. Now let's look at all the possibilities. How could this happen? This is foul play, so how could this have happened? Criminal involvement. No evidence whatsoever that Sherri's involved in anything nefarious. She's a soccer mom, she's a Navy wife, she's, that's not her thing. She's not in that world. No evidence that she's on drugs. She had this much, she might have had a glass of wine with pizza. No drugs. She's not a prostitute. It wasn't sexual battery. She's not the one having an illicit affair. We've already ruled out robbery. Robbery's not the motive. We've already ruled out random act of violence because that doesn't fit the circumstances of the case. You have to use your common sense too when you're looking at all this. I mean, does it fit? Does this fit with random acts of violence? No. The only one you got is the husband, the adulterous husband. Someone that she knows. Now the defense is going to plug in Jennifer. Okay, yeah, she's got a motive too. She's the other woman. She'd like to have the husband. Okay. For 20-something years, it was believed that Jennifer held the keys. Buddy Neesmith knew at the beginning, in 2001, that Jennifer knew more than she was saying. They kept trying to interview her over the years. They always wanted to get to Jennifer because they know that she knew something. It took 20 years, but they did finally get information from her, and yes, she was offered immunity. When was she offered immunity? 20-something years later. At this point, she comes in to be interviewed. Her son is now almost out of high school. She's on her own. She's moved back up to Illinois. It's finally weighed on her, and she said it was just time. The second day when she comes back in, she comes in believing that she's going to jail. She had already given away her car keys, given her kids, her son, her account passwords. She was prepared to go to jail. And before she gives this information. And then she's offered immunity. There isn't anything else that could have been done. Everything else had been done in the case. There is no other evidence. And, yes, there were mistakes made in the forensics. Since then, all of the forensics, all of it has been worked. And it doesn't point to the defendant. But it doesn't point away from him either. So it doesn't cancel out anything. Jennifer was always the key. And she gave the information. There's one other thing I wanted to say about Jennifer. Oh yeah. When you think about Jennifer, remember this. She was killed in the front passenger seat of her van. When would she have gotten in the passenger seat of the van? How would she have gotten in the passenger seat of her van? Why would she have gotten in the passenger seat of her van? And who could have made her do that? It's not going to be the other woman. So, weighing the evidence. You have to use your common sense as you go through all of this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff. We've been here for 5 days. But you get to decide which evidence you want to rely on and which evidence you don't want to rely on. You get to decide what's good evidence and what's bad evidence. And you, as the fact finder, have the prerogative to accept or reject anything that any witness has said or any piece of evidence that has been admitted. And remember, everything that the witness has said is evidence. So you get to decide. You're reasonable people, and you have to use your common sense in deciding that. But remember, she's killed in the front passenger seat of the van. And whatever scenario you want to try to work through, you still have to get past this fact. I have to prove this to you beyond reasonable doubt, which is not a mere possible doubt, speculative, imaginary, forced doubt, and it's not one that should influence you to return a verdict of not guilty if you have an abiding conviction of guilt, which is a firm belief. All of this makes sense to you. And you can reasonably discount the other options. Then you have reached your verdict. Thank you.